So my name is Razi. I also go by Leo. A little fun fact about me, I love the NixOS operating system. It's the best in the world.
And I'm Yuri. I've been titled the Russian spy because I was born in Russia. I'm an American citizen now. We're all good. You'll see me around on my electric unicycle on a one wheel in the next few days as well. If you see one of those guys, it might be me. Now we have Miles over here.
Hello, I'm Miles. Yuri stole my prompt here. I have unicycle enthusiast written down. We go for rides and such roundabout. And this is my first semester being a initial, I don't know, intern is what I'm being called here. CTF club.
So I'm Jacob. I got the Gladiator Traverser because I like to hike a lot, and the Rocket Leader because that's what I was playing before our last leader meeting, and apparently that was interesting. Yeah, I'm also new to the intern team, so glad to be here. Help out.
Darpin's not here today, but we dubbed him Tony Hawk Jr. because he likes to skate. But maybe he'll be here next time.
My name is Mohammed Isa. I love camels because everyone, whenever they see me, they're like, oh, you were born in Saudi, and the first thing that comes is camel oil. So it's good. I love camels. Very expensive.
Before we move on, let's have can I have you two guys scan the QR code? This is how we get money. The more people we get, the more money we get. We need everyone. Good to go?
Alright, first before we get into anything else, can anyone tell me what CTF stands for? Raise your hand. Maurice, what does CTF stand for? You're so right, here's a Jolly Rancher. If you ever answer or ask a question during one of our club meetings, we will throw a Jolly Rancher at you. And it has to be a topic relevant question. You can't just ask something stupid, okay? Alright.
And there's no stupid questions, by the way.
Well, you can't just ask me what's my favorite color. I'm not going to give you a Jolly
What's your
Rancher.
favorite color?
Red!
Actually,
See, you're not giving him.
yeah!
Whatever.
You're not giving him one.
This is wow. I'm using it.
You're your favorite.
Anyway, CTF is basically they're little miniature cybersecurity puzzles. They can be offensive or defensive in nature. They can involve various things. I have a couple of the standard categories up there. OSINT, which will be our topic for today. Cryptography, web exploitation, binary exploitation, reverse engineering, forensics, log analysis, and so many more. But those are most of the big, standard categories that you'll see. There are also dozens, if not hundreds, of CTF-related competitions that happen throughout the year, which I believe the next slide is talking about those. So I would say the three main types of CTF competitions are Jeopardy CTF competitions, which are you basically have a list of challenges and you choose one. They give you the scenario and the files you need to solve the challenge. You find the flag, you submit it, and then you move on to the next challenge. There are also attack defend CTF competitions where your goal is essentially to get flags from other teams and defend your flags from other teams as well. And I guess I didn't say it earlier, but a flag is essentially just a string of text that is basically saying you solved this challenge, essentially. There's also mixed competitions that are part CTF, part something else. So for example, I have on there the NCAA Cyber Games is a mixed competition. There's a CTF part of the competition, but there's also a defensive part that is pretty much entirely separate from the CTF. But sometimes you'll see stuff like that. But usually you'll see Jeopardy CTFs. CTF competitions can be virtual, so you just do it on, say, your DSU laptop while you're, hanging with some friends or in your dorm room. But there are also in-person competitions, and the computer club usually funds travel to in-person competitions. And so, if there is an in-person competition you are interested in going to, chances are we can secure some kind of funding for it, whether it be from the club itself or from the Beacon College, something like that. But usually you will not have to pay. There might be requirements for getting it reimbursed, but usually you won't have to pay for paid competitions. As mentioned, you also get travel opportunities, so you might get to go, to Chicago or Minneapolis or Grand Forks, North Dakota. Anyway, but they happen all throughout the year, including during the summer, if that interests you, and they cover all skill levels from absolute beginner to expert. Here's a list of example competitions. It's basically just a list of ones that I've either done or am doing. So, we've got NSA Codebreaker, Cybersecurity. Okay. NCAE Cyber Games, Wicked 6, National Cyber League, and IEEE Cars, which is one. Keeps breaking, I guess. Speaking of the IEEE Cars, CTF, this one is the qualifiers are starting next Friday, and I think running through the weekend is a little unclear. The website's not very good. But it is, you can play it by yourself or with a team of up to 4 people. It covers, they give you explicitly the 5 categories that they cover. So OSINT, cryptography, AI security, binary exploitation, and malware forensics. The virtual qualifiers on Friday are virtual, so you don't have to go anywhere. But if you do end up qualifying, you will get sponsored to drive up to registration link is there. I also sent it out in an announcement over the weekend, I believe. And then I also posted a Microsoft forum where, if you are, just to keep track of everyone who's doing it, and if you, need a team or need another person for your team, you can fill it out on that forum, and we can get you matched up so that you can have, hopefully, a full team if desired.
And also, if you're interested in signing up, if this sounds cool to you, there's of course prizes for this competition. We'll post this slideshow at the end of the club meeting, so you can sign up right with this link. We'll bring that back up. We'll share the slideshow. And if you're new, if you just got here a little bit earlier, do you guys want to scan the QR code? If you never want to scan this QR code because that is how we get money, please scan this. We need everyone.
Yeah, I had it on the previous slide, but yes, most competitions will have prizes, whether that's money, merch, gift cards, free trips to conferences, things like that. Usually there's something in it that you can get, say, top 5 or top 10 or whatever. So I think there was a CTF last weekend, the Road to Cyber Bay CTF, and it was the top 5 student teams were sponsored to the for that one. Unfortunately, no DSC teams got top 5. I'm sorry.
Not sure, I would say definitely just go for it, because in my opinion the best way to get started is to just jump in, because it really is all about learning to problem solve at its core. And so again, the best way to get started is just jumping. So find some teammates, or sign up to the forum. We can help you find a team. As our goal is to get as many people in the league as we can. That's our job, to get you in the CTF and working on them. So definitely, I would recommend, if you're interested, jump in and start learning how to do that. So don't create a barrier to entry that isn't there. Anyone can start. So that's just what I wanted to add.
And then we have some CTFs overall. One of the platforms we have is CTF. So if you have a computer right now, you want to go to HTTPS //
If you want to run CTF.website.com, what you can do is create an account. It's free. You don't even have to have your account. And what you can do here is pretty much have a leaderboard of all the users, everyone who's registered on the platform. But we'll post challenges throughout the semester over here. Today we'll post a few open source intelligence challenges, as you see two up here already. And what you can do is once you solve them, you get on this leaderboard and you get cool points when you're at the end of the semester or you're the top 5, top 10. That's something to shoot for. So we'll post challenges again throughout the semester, but right now we're just going to go with OSINT challenges. So yeah, go ahead and create accounts. Start school on meanwhile. Yep, I paused it. Well, I'm pausing it a little bit too.
We'll try to post challenges there that are relevant to what we talk about each meeting. So we'll do our best to bring up new ones as the semester goes on. To learn here and go.
Yeah, so usually with the challenges that we're going to post, what you'll be able to do is reference our slideshow or just what we mentioned, and that should help you solve some of these challenges. And also, every CTF meeting that you attend, you're going to get 50 points as well. So at the end, if you stick around, you'll get a free flag for 50 points.
And show up every time.
Yep. So that's CTF platform. And it's beautiful. Can someone tell me what OSINT stands for?
Good job.
I got it right away.
No wonder that theory is not good for them. They also learn that professor.
Who ended it? Who ended it?
I'm not sure. So yes, open source intelligence. So it's one of the categories that we mentioned. It's one of the most popular categories. Usually it's the one category. So once kind of goes on that idea, at least to me, that once info is on the internet, it's public. Kind of goes with everything that you do on the internet. But goes with these challenges. If you're given like maybe a prompt or maybe a picture, what you're supposed to do is find where that picture came from, what that kind of is trying to hide. So that's kind of open source intelligence, is gathering information from public sources with the hints that you're giving during the challenge. It can be ethical or it can be malicious. So one of the things I'll try to talk about is like you can do CTS on the offensive side, challenges, try to make boxes, like virtual machines. But you can also do it defensively. With open source intelligence, one of the things you can also do on is just look up your name on Google. That's the first thing that shows up. When you're going to the career fair next, in 2 weeks, October 1st, when you go to the career fair and you want employers to hire you, one of the first things they're going to do as a background check is just look up your name. Open source intelligence, all the skills that you get from doing these categories kind of applies to kind of to yourself as well. So look up your name, see what pops up, see if there's anything you can do about it. That's kind of your digital footprint, so it's good to know about it. And it can also be a full-time job after the as well. So why is open source intelligence important? So reconnaissance phase of a CTF is kind of where you're collecting information about a challenging task. It's kind of like the early stage where you're trying to figure out what you're trying to do. It helps you piece together puzzles. So whether you're trying to like read between the lines of like what the title is or what the description means, open source intelligence, when you're looking something up on Google, for example, it'll help you kind of take the next step in the challenge, like in terms of trying to solve it. It's useful, again, kind of like I mentioned earlier, both for solving challenges and also kind of knowing what to do about it yourself. Like, what we mentioned is there's a lot of public information in terms of government websites. They post a lot of information that's just out in public, not just the U.S. government, a bunch of different ones. And when you find out about them through OSINT, you also kind of find out about them maybe you know that your application is online as well. So that'll help you out as well if that's the case. Social engineering, if you're like white hat hacker, if you want to collect information about people online, it'll help you with your endeavors. If you want to try to social engineer someone.
It's used a lot in social engineering for pretexting, where you basically, the person you're trying to social engineer, you like sort of give them a scenario that you crafted based on what you found out about them. So for example, if you were trying to attack like let's say like an executive of a financial company, you might research into like what other services does that company employ, you know, what contractors do they work with, those one of those contractors, and be more believable in your social engineering.
Yeah, or if you want to write an email out to someone and you can find out where they work, and then maybe their website, the company's website posts an article of their CEO or maybe their managers, and you can say, hey, Bob, James, your manager, kind of told me that I need this piece of information, and he told me to get it from you. So that's kind of what pretexting is, like with some background information, try to social engineer yourself. Don't do anything illegal, by the way, quick disclaimer. And by the way, this meme is kind of like, it's a little bit exaggerating, but it's also kind of true. When you just know someone's first name, you know where they're at, like what city they're in. Again, Google will help you a lot, as I'll say in the next slide. But off of very little information, you can do a lot with those.
Can you see off of that profile? Any links that you see, any be associated with LinkedIn? Who said that? I don't have it available on today. What? Yes. Yep. Yep. Well, you can host it behind that.
Yeah, one more.
That's true. I'm one of the 4 or 5. Yep.
Yep. Yuri's very recognizable.
Yep.
If he starts like speaking Russian into like a wire, that's you. That's you.
Yeah, if you're trying to hunt me down, you just have to go to Madison, South Dakota and find an electric unicyclist. And then what about this Facebook profile? Some easy ones over here.
Anyone.
You can tell exactly where they were.
Yep.
So that was
Anything else? Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, Facebook is one of the worst ones about this. So this brings me to social media for a slide of its own. Shared photos online can be your enemy. So for example, one of the former prime ministers of Australia, okay, again, shared a photo online of his boarding pass. And over here, we have an article of someone who found that boarding pass and then looked it up on one of the airlines Please work. Do I have to like put some light on it? Will this work? So what this guy did, or is it a guy? Alex Hope? I guess I can.
Person, just say
This,
person.
so what this person did was find, look up this boarding pass on an airline. And then off of that, they were able to, with some steps, find out all of these details. For example, their passport number, their gender, date of birth, their full name, which I guess you can get the middle name off of that. And they didn't have any phones over here, but they could have also grabbed like their cell phones or home phones, for example. So a prime minister, a very well publicly known figure in Australia at least, posted a picture of a boarding pass, just that they were excited to go out and fly somewhere. And someone was able to find a lot of personal information just off of that. There we go. Yeah. Also your followers and your following. So if your public is profile on Instagram, for example, or Facebook, you can find all the people that someone's associated with, whether they're being followed, or they're following someone. Same thing with your bio and tags. Just be mindful of everything that you're sharing online. It's kind of repeating something that you've probably heard before. But that all goes into open source intelligence. So maybe there's not like a Twitter account that you're supposed to look up. Which we might get to today. You'll get a lot of information from social media, and Facebook's the worst one too. So you can get a lot of the fields that you can fill out on Facebook is like, yeah, where you work, what school you went to, what high school, college, who you're married to, or who your boyfriend or girlfriend are, your hometown, family. You can find someone's mother maiden name potentially off of a Facebook account.
Yeah.
So if that tells you anything about social media, there you go.
Yeah, and obviously it's a bit of a double-edged sword because there are some times when you do want to give information about yourself. For example, on something like LinkedIn, you want employers to know your employment history, where you're located, what your name is, things like that. But then obviously it can be misused as well. So you just have to be careful with how much you're willing to share because it's pretty much impossible to not share anything.
Yep. So how does this relate to CTF, or maybe what are some tools that you can apply specifically to CTF? One of the most common things you're going to be using is Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever you use. Does anyone use DuckDuckGo? I'll give the first. You raise your hand first. Perfect. There you go. Yeah. I love DuckDuckGo. But anyways, what you can do is these kind of like search modifiers. It's called Google Dorking. There's a whole list of these out there. And this isn't the only list, but this is just one GitHub gist of everything that you can use to filter down your results. So for example, if you want to filter down to some text within a URL, you can do in URL : and then whatever you want to be included. A practical example of this, and I don't exactly suggest that you do this, but you can do what this picture says and say, look up in text powered by webcam XP5, which is some webcam. I don't know about it. And then in URL gallery HTML. So there's some webcam that apparently just puts out an HTTP server that you can just like look up on the internet, and it gets indexed by Google. So I looked it up. This one should be all good. It should just be a public camera. It doesn't have HTTPS. Back. But yeah, you found a public camera online just off of some filters on Google. I think there's multiple cameras over here, but nevertheless, just one example. Do with this information what you will. So again, yeah, public profiles on social media. I won't ask for examples, but there's a lot of government websites as well, and just general databases. One of them is Have I Been Pwned? Has anyone heard of that before? Just kind of curious. Yep. So yeah, if you're on your laptop again and you want to just enter your email address, what this will do is pretty much look up on a bunch of leaks found online of maybe like stolen passwords or other stuff, just mostly stolen passwords. If your password was compromised and you enter your email address, this will tell you any accounts that you have made with that email and see if they're compromised.
You should do your email, Yuri. See if yours has been in any week.
I'll do my school email. Yeah. It should be safe. Surely, right?
Surely.
I think my personal email got breached on Mathway.
Oh yeah, I had my like school email, like K through 12 email, I think was on like some Canva leak. So
Yeah. White pages and fast people search. You can look people up by like first name, last name, and all of that. What the heck? I think those are paid. They might be paid. I'm not sure.
some
I
of
think you
some
can
of the
use it.
information is readily available. Some of it you have to pay for. Paying for a service like that, though, a little questionable in my opinion. But
Yep. And then GitHub repositories, as we know, they can be public or private, but can anyone tell me what's the issue with GitHub in terms of information that you're putting out online? Can you take it away after you put it out there? Josh, I heard you say, I heard you nod your head no. Why is that? I saw you. Why is it? Say again? Yep. And once you make a GitHub commit that maybe you're posting like an API key out there, or maybe like your full name or your email address, once you forgot the Jolly Rancher. Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
So once you make a commit on GitHub, it's going to be in the version history. So even if you make another commit that says, okay, remove this email from this file, it's still going to be in the version history. You can, I think you can, there is a way around that, but people don't usually go to that length. So
Like
sometimes you can
overwriting
find
history.
people's personal information online. Again, government websites, Wayback Machine as well. So if someone made a website, and the Wayback Machine sees it, what it can do is take a snapshot of that website and pretty much save it in their databases. So I'll do my website. I know it's safe. There's nothing on there. Okay, I guess it's not there. Google.com.
Your website is
It's not cool enough.
well. This is you're not on this web archive. You got a web.archive that over here.
Oh, hold on. Is it this? All right, perfect. Google. So we can look at snapshots of google.com way back to like 2007, even earlier. So we can see what Google looked like on March 25th in 2004. Anyone born on that day?
The whole rest of it.
2 snapshots. They're usually pretty fast to load, but this one's from like 2 decades ago, so it might be a little bit slow.
Wow.
There we go. That's Google in 2004. It's
Nice.
beautiful. So with Google, it's not really an issue, but if you had like a personal website that announced your personal email address or something like that, and you took it off, if Wayback Machine took a snapshot of that, it's kind of on there forever. Maybe you can request to remove that information, but that's Wayback Machine. And OSINT framework, I should have had a link to it, but OSINT framework is kind of a nice tool, like nice database of a bunch of different tools that you can be using. So if you want to do stuff with archives, it'll probably point to websites. It'll give you a bunch of tools, and there's the Wayback Machine. So if you want to find out where more tools are, this OSINT framework, it's probably not the most up to date, but there's a bunch of websites that are still out here working and everything that you're able to use to solve OSINT challenges. All right, and then we have domains. Did I skip a slide?
Oh,
Nope. Next slide.
sleeping there. Okay, so a lot of times when you're doing recon related stuff, instead of a specific person, you might have your target might be like a company or a website or something like that. And that's where domain recon comes in. So there are a lot of ways that you might find out more information about a specific domain. Like for example, the easiest example I can use is our schools, which is dsu.edu, right? If you put that into a web browser, you'll get our school website. But there's a lot more stuff you can find just by knowing that that's our website. So the first one is archive, which Yuri just talked about. If you go and stick that into the Internet Archive, you can find all the versions that have ever been cached by the Wayback Machine. So like they mentioned, that's pretty useful for
if you think something may have been removed and you want to go find old information, or if you might want to go find old facts about the organization or whatever, that's a good tool for looking for that information.
Yeah, I think DSU's website has snapshots all the way back to, I want to say, late 90s, like 1999, I think. So it goes pretty far back. So
The more well-traveled a site is, generally, the more snapshots there are. So like you saw with Google right there, the entire chart was just totally filled in because they have a snapshot of pretty much any day. So maybe you even have a specific date you're looking for. You can go throw your domain into the Webpack machine and you might be able to find what you're looking for. It's always worth a look. That's a similar idea to cached sites. Like they mentioned, when something's put up on the internet, if anything comes through and records it, then you're kind of cooked. It's there. So, you know, obviously the most primary place to find that information is with Internet Archive, but I'm sure there are other tools. DNS records. That's another great way to find out information about a domain. So DNS is a domain name system for the domain. It's basically what we use when you type dsu.edu into your web browser. DNS is what's responsible for translating that into an IP address that your computer understands so that it can then reach out and get the website and give it back to you. So computers are heavily on DNS, so do we as humans, because we don't want to remember IP addresses for anything, for everything. But that means that all this information is publicly available. So there are a lot of different kinds of records that you can go find. I listed a few tools there. One of the most well-known servers is just type 8.8.8.8 into your web browser to get Google DNS, a very wide-reaching server. So you can just throw your domain name in there. It'll give you back information like IP addresses, other name servers that are associated with that domain. There are mail records, so you might be able to find out what email server is associated with that organization. There's all kinds of stuff like that. And my slide is missing.
Yeah. I'll mention this too. Is I don't know if you were going to mention this, but were you going to talk about who is it all? So
it wasn't specifically on there, but go ahead. It's a good tool.
yeah, so who is, if you have a domain, Yuri.io, Google.com, GitHub.com, whatever domain, there's a bunch of information about the person or the company that registered that domain. So you can look at their name servers. I guess we're not seeing 8.8.8.8. We're seeing the word versions of those. But you can get a bunch of registrar information, like who registered it. You can contact the person. I've used complaints at markmonitor.com. A bunch of information about who registered the domain.
And Google doesn't have much here, but sometimes depending on who you registered your domain with, sometimes your like full name, like email address will be there as well. So something to be careful of when you're registering a domain. Usually most registrars these days have privacy services to minimize the amount that is exposed, but
that's part of the process of doing recon, is never know what's going to be out there on your target. So you just kind of want to go through all of these and see what you can dig up. So like Leah said, you might be able to find who's associated with a website. Maybe you can try to pretend you're them or something, you know, who knows what your goal is. As far as subdomains, basically under the category of, I'm going to continue rolling with my example of dsu.edu, right? We have that, but we also have a lot of systems that are running under our network. So we have things like www.dsu.edu. We have ialab.dsu.edu. If you're familiar with the ialab, that's something we use for a lot of our classes and projects to host servers and whatnot.
What other ones? Before he mentions any others, what other subdomains of dsu.edu are there? It's one of them is our learning management system. D2L. What's up?
that's
Yep.
And
That's a good one.
was on the SD4.
Oh wait, D2L is not
I
on
would
this.
say
Okay.
And
Oh.
it's D2L.SD board.
Yeah.
Here's
But
one, guys. He's
My dsu.edu is a good example.
so PCM.
And we have things
PCL.
like webmail, If you use Outlook in your browser, you have
Oh, yeah.
web.dsc.edu. But a lot of times it's hard to know that info. We have the ability to find that information out because we all have access to our systems, right? But maybe you're on the outside and you want to figure out, you want to make a map of the target you're doing recon on. You know, maybe you want to find what sort of services they're running. You might see if you find anything interesting you can look into further. That's where finding subdomains comes in. I listed a couple names there. Synapse, Census. I think DNS Dumpster does this too, maybe sort of. I forgot. Yeah, I mean, so you can stick your target in there and it'll dump you a list of like 50 plus subdomains that you're looking for. I mean, I threw DSU in there and it returns me Synapse and returns me at least 100 results. So you can find out a lot about an organization's network just based on public records like this. And that's going to be really useful for finding out more information about your target and where you might pivot to next and the reconnaissance you're doing. I did want to mention here, once we start messing with IP addresses and finding subdomains and enumerating them, we do have to be careful to use what are called passive tools. That's what all of these are, right? So you're using a tool on the internet that basically has a database already created. So you're not directly reaching out to your target, you're querying public databases. If you use an active tool instead, which would be the opposite of these, that's when you're actually sending data to your target. You start getting into ethically iffy areas depending on what you're doing, right? You don't want to just be going around scanning organizations' networks to try to figure out what all their machines are, right? So you can use passive tools like this because that information is already out there. But once you get into other stuff, you want to be careful that what you're doing isn't ethically iffy, I guess. The last thing I have here is robots.txt and sitemap.xml. Basically, if you're not familiar, those are things you can find on some web servers. It depends on who's hosting it. You might not have one of those all the time, but if you, it looks like they have one out there. Google, that's for Google. Basically, sometimes organizations don't really want bots crawling their websites, right? There's a ton of bots that go around the internet crawling for things and recording them. That's how the Wayback Machine works, actually, that we talked about. But sometimes organizations don't really like that very much. And so they have this robots.txt file that basically, you can see it has a lot of things that are listed as disallowed. That pretty much tells web crawlers, don't crawl here because we don't really want you to record this. But also a side consequence of that is that you might find some interesting things in there that they're specifically trying to not have people find. So if you can, it's always worth a look to take a look at this website whenever you're doing some recon. It's worth it to take a look at this page whenever you're doing some recon on a website because you might find some information listed there. And the other one,
They don't have a site map.
Robots is the site map.
Yep.
Looks like we don't have one, but it's worth a try.
Or I guess it doesn't have a style information, but there is a site map.
It's just
Yeah.
a raw XML.
Yeah.
I guess we do have one. There you go.
Yeah.
Both of those are there. You might find something listed in there that you can then go access that you wouldn't have known about otherwise.
Yep.
Again, we're obligated to say if you find something in there that you probably shouldn't access, probably don't do that. But it's a good idea to look if you're doing recon.
I did just check. DSU also both has robots.txt and a sitemap.xml. So that's
Yep.
Oh, that's fine.
Yep.
We got
digging skills.
three
What?
things. Image OSINT, a lot of competitions. They usually have to start related. Most basic, like start with the basic thing. Google Lens, you can do reverse image search. Reverse image search, like this image originated from. Sometimes you'll just find like a picture of a newspaper. Okay, which website was this newspaper on or something? So
I'm not
you
looking at
just
you.
paste it here and it will tell you something. Oh, this website has that newspaper. You can get more info on that. Another thing Google Lens can do is like sometimes you'll get like a picture And behind that main picture, there will be some building, which can be a famous landmark attraction, something. So Google Lens won't detect that building, but it can detect something in the background, can help you like navigate Google Maps. And, oh, this is this, and this is this. So you land in a different street, and we probably will upload some challenges regarding Google Lens reversing its searches and landmark attractions. Metadata is the data behind the image, like hidden information. It can be GPS coordinates. It can be details of your cell phone, the camera lens, anything like that. Usually, whenever you take picture, I've noticed it, your phone usually erases it itself, or it just erases it, but sometimes it's not, especially the old pictures. So you can find some metadata and you can be like, use exit tool. If you're taking first cyber, you'll probably go through that. I don't know if we have that, but you can run exit tool search and it will show you metadata for
Yeah,
JPG and something.
a lot of social medias these days will automatically strip
we'll
like
just strip
location
the actual-
metadata, but I wouldn't rely on that if I
Yeah.
were you. I would still check before
Exit
uploading.
tool, there are a lot of open websites which you can just paste the image in and they will just show you metadata of the image. And visual clues, I think this is the biggest one, especially for the OSINT challenges. Some we did an OSINT, they only gave us like one line. Okay, the ship is from Russia and is standing in North Korea, and they gave us a picture of a port and where is the ship? So the only thing we had is like three edges, and we had to find a random port in North Korea, and they have a terrible Google map. It's like you, so it was just like three edges, like three dock stations, and we were like that visual clues. So the visual clue were like three warehouses with them. So there are not a lot of North Korean infrastructure. So you can find those visual clues. Sometimes there will be a street picture, and then there'll be like a big building, a bank or something, and you can be like, oh, there's a bus station there, and you can track back to that place. So I think visual clues are what are the most important. You need to look at like the smallest detail of a picture and dig into it, and that probably leads you to an answer. So that's all image OSINT is. Technical.
Yep.
All right, so here's just a few more like tools that you can use for OSINT. A couple of these we already talked about, like whoas and metadata. HTT or HT track it's a little bit similar to those like subdomain like discovery services that Jacob talked about, but basically it crawls through a website and downloads a local copy. So you could use that for something like if the site has like pages within it that aren't indexed by a search engine and aren't linked anywhere else, you could use that to basically enumerate the site and find pages that are maybe a little harder to find. Shodan is basically a directory of like exposed IoT devices. That one's a little iffy because like you probably shouldn't actually access those devices, but it does show you like their IP address, and from that you could figure out roughly where they're located. Sherlock is a tool that you can use. You basically input a username and it will search like I think it's like 400 different sites for accounts with the same username. There are also some like a bunch of tools that are very similar that might do more approximate searches and things like that. Someone put in AI question mark, ChatGPT question mark. I did not put that in there, but yes, AI chatbots can be a very useful tool because they simplify a lot of the searching. You just say, you might like one of Jacob's challenges earlier that he sent to me. I just uploaded the image to Gemini and I was like, where was this photo taken? And it took like 30 seconds and it gave me where it was. So, but they can be very useful for like if it's just something that needs to be like searched for, it's pretty good at that. Or if it's something like visual recognition, it does that pretty well as well. Jacob touched on this as well, but active reconnaissance is not included in OSINT. So things like network scans, if you do an Nmap scan of a company network, that is not OSINT. That is not public available knowledge. Or accessing restricted systems or locations. If you break into a building and find out information, that is not OSINT, all right? And then also interrogating associated individuals. If you're trying to figure out like where, like something about someone going and like messaging their family on Facebook. Hey, what? Tell me these details about this person. That's not OSINT. That's not publicly available information. So just keep that in mind when you're doing challenges and when you go into the workforce as well. These are a separate thing, and you can only do these with explicit permission. All right, and then we've got a couple. There are a couple of OSINT specific CTF competitions. Most competitions will have an OSINT category, but these ones focus specifically on it. So there's the diver OSINT. I think Mohammed and Jacob, did you guys do that one? Yeah, how was that? Was it fun? Was it cool? Was it?
I would suggest you guys do it if you don't have like 12 hours of time to waste on one picture. It's like after this, my whole web browser was showing me Chinese and Japanese because all the things messed
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah, go on incognito mode, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be helpful. Bellingcat, I think that's the one where like every day they upload a new OSINT challenge. That one's cool because I don't think you need an account to do it. Then there's Hack OSINT, which is like a yearly event hosted on CTF time. I remember I looked at the link and it was all in French, so I don't really know anything about it, but I know it exists. Trace Labs is a cool one. That's also a pretty continuous one. But the goal with that one is to use OSINT to basically find people who have gone missing. So it's actually got like a very positive, purpose and goal. So that one's pretty cool as well.
Okay, so I'll dive into this challenge. I won't do the entire one for the sake of time, just for the sake of time, but let's open up OSINT. Has anyone used Try Hack Me before? Dollar Ranger, if you did.
It's gonna be a lot.
Boom. Boom. Practicing my throws. Oh, nice catch behind you.
Yeah,
A lot of try hacking was
Yeah, correct.
nice.
Aiden.
Aiden.
Yeah, Vaughn.
Oh, that was a bad throw. All right, one more. Nice. Anyone else? Want a free Jolly Rancher? Isaiah. All right.
I don't know your name. So I know a lot of people.
All right. A lot of try hack me's. So if you haven't created an account, you don't have to if you don't want to. We can just follow along. I think I'll do like the first 2 or 3 steps. But let's download the task files. Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll save this image to our downloads folder. Where were we just at? Where is OSINT? I just feel it. Yeah.
Got lost.
I lost. All right. OSINT. So, what information can you get? Can you possible get with just one image file? So we downloaded that image and we got a note. So this challenge was uploaded on 2024. If you are following any older walkthrough, okay. So we're not going to be using a walkthrough right now, but we will look at this image. Downloads. All right, so we get a beautiful Windows XP background. And we also get a little bit of other details about this image. Does anyone know the word for it that we talked about earlier? What these kind of like file properties are? Metadata? Yep. So we get the file size, JPEG, 1080p. But the default tool that this opens up with does not give me a lot of information. So what I'll do is I'll open this up in the terminal. And can anyone tell me the tool that we use to get more metadata about an image? I just name any of them.
Anyone?
The one I'm thinking of starts with an E.
Mohammed mentioned it earlier. What'd you say?
What's EXIF? Yep, EXIF tool. Yep. So EXIF tool, if we run this,
Over here, man. You guys gotta be louder. I can't tell if you said it or not. Someone over here. Yeah. All right.
nice.
That's okay.
So we'll run EXIF tool on this image. And we get a bunch of information on this photo. What do we think could be useful about this photo? Out of all of these file properties?
Raise your hand. Someone, anyone. Guys.
Say again? Copyright?
Yes, yes.
GPS? Yep, that's a good one. So yeah, Northwest. Raise your hand if you said it.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so yep, we get the latitude and longitude. We also get, yep, the copyright, the person who copyrighted this. We also get the image dimensions. They don't really help. Yep, so we get a few details about this photo. So we'll throw that off to the side. What the heck? All right. So what is this user's avatar of? So that was just a background of grass, but maybe we can find out who this user is. Oh, Woodflint. This name seems interesting. Oh, Woodflint. So we get a GitHub profile, we get an X link, we get an Instagram profile, Twitch, a bunch of information associated with Oh, Woodflint. So we have a GitHub repository here, People Finder. Looks like he's from London. He likes taking photos and contributing to open source projects, so that might be helpful. He's got a Twitter account right here, and we saw that earlier as well. He's got an email and even a website. So we'll go back to the challenge. That might help us a little bit. Okay, what is this user's avatar of?
Probably get his Twitter.
So yeah, this user's avatar is not helpful, but we go to X. Looks like that's a picture of a cat, so we'll put that in. Submit. Perfect. Identified a cat. Let's go. And earlier we saw on, what was it, the GitHub that that this person is from London, so we'll get that as well. And then the SSID of the wait, what is it?
Wireless access.
Wireless access point that he connected to. So this one, we may or may not have mentioned the tool, but the tool you'll need to go if you want to do this challenge. Spoiler alert, it's Wiggle. So any Wi-Fi network that you see, if you get its SSID, so like Go Trojans or whatever other ones we have, if it was mapped by Wiggle, which is basically a bunch of people contributing to one large database, you can look up where this SSID was found. We haven't found out the SSID, I guess.
It isn't via that. It's like email. It's like
Yeah.
emails.
We'll go back to the GitHub. So, okay, so that's just the README. We have this website. Hey, I'm in New York right now. Okay, so we get his current location, so that helps. Contact.
Somebody. Twitter profile. But I did say like some questions you can
Yeah.
do from the GitHub.
Let's see. Well, okay, this is a new project.
It's on Twitter.
It was on X.
Go to Twitter here.
Perfect. I may be blind.
You literally have glasses.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yes, I completely went over this Twitter post. Okay, so we have this BSSID, which is like the MAC address of the Wi-Fi router, if I know correctly. I took networking one.
I don't think that's
Is it not?
That is another tool you showed. Your challenge dropping at some point where you might want to use that.
Yeah. So for that, you'll need Wiggle. So I won't go through the entire challenge right now, but if you want to, you can go to Try Hack Me and then just look up OSINT with OH, and you'll find it and you'll get to do the rest of this challenge. It's an awesome platform. All right. And then finally, we're giving out free points for showing up. Thank you for showing up. So if you haven't yet created an account at ctf.devsec.club, go ahead and do so. And we already did. but the first flag that you get 50 points for. Our challenges are all going to be written in the format of DSU, then curly braces, and then whatever the actual flag is.
Yeah, unpause.
Say again?
Unpause the.
Yeah, if you go to config, and it's security. Nope.
Mhm.
Is it in settings?
Mhm.
Yeah, Boston too. So,
Alright.
yep. So now you can actually solve the challenges. We unlock the platform, so everyone gets an equal start. Nobody gets, I guess, a half-hour head start. But yeah, if you go to the welcome challenge, you'll enter that flag, and that'll be the first challenge you solve. We also have a few more OSINT challenges, so relevant, related to the tools that we talked about today. Go ahead and solve those. If you need hints, maybe ask a friend. Try to do it yourself though first. That's part of the fun of the challenge. And yeah, get on the leaderboard. We'll post more challenges as we do more topics. And then sign up for IEEE Cars competition.
To get rid of our last remaining Jolly Ranchers, is anyone currently signed up for that already or filled out the form and is looking to sign up? I know you are, Therese. No, I know there's at least. Yeah, hold on. Hold on, guys. Anyone else? Anyone else getting IEEE Cars? Want a Jolly Rancher? Aiden, I think you filled out the form. Do you want a Jolly Rancher?
All right. Well, if you do want to sign up, we'll post this presentation in the Computer Club Discord in a little bit. But otherwise, that's all we have for you.